Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 158 of the MTB podcast, presented and hosted by Worldwide Cyclery, Kettle Mountain Apparel, and Trail One Components. I'm Jared.
I'm Liam.
I'm Mike.
I'm Nick.
Nice. Nailed it, guys. And in this episode, we are lucky enough to have our friends from Shimano Mountain Bike Division joining us to talk all things mountain bike, as well as their recent release of wireless Di2 drivetrains and refreshed brakes, plus some classic listener questions, ranging from replacing our arms with utensils to drivetrain replacement parts and everything in between. Pretty legit, huh?
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Anytime. Zach's words of wisdom: just keep going. Pretty simple this time around.
Yep. Zach's a simple guy.
Yeah. Kind of like Finding Nemo. Just keep swimming, right?
You probably got it from that. You probably watched it last week.
Does Zach have kids?
No. Zach does not have kids.
Nice.
Zach is a kid. He's not. He's like 32 years old. Just sitting in front.
But yeah, yes, kid and man body. Sometimes, but very responsible. He's grown up a lot lately.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, sometimes you just need that special person in your life to really straighten you out, you know? Speaking of which, Daniel's fun fact: bananas are considered berries, but strawberries are not. It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
Is that like, what, tomatoes are fruits?
I think
Similar
similar concept. Yeah. So the science behind this is that real berries come from a single flower with one ovary and have seeds inside. Yes, that's bananas, but strawberries, they're what we call aggregate accessory fruit because they have their seeds on the outside. Yeah. Pretty interesting. I mean, I'm not a scientist, but it makes sense to me.
Well, that sounds like a scientist answer.
That was ChatGPT's answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who is a scientist? ChatGPT is all things, especially science.
Yeah.
I think I need to meet Zach and Daniel.
Yeah.
I think that's what that's told me.
For
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
That
We
can
make that
provide.
happen.
Yeah. Provide some insight, into these guys. How about a fantastic testimonial? I was recently driving home from shredding at Rock Creek, shout out to Nico and the crew, after a full day of berm slapping, tire schalping, and hanging 10 with the boys. There I was, deep into last month's podcast as I cruised down the road back home to Charlotte. So deep that I completely forgot that my tank had been on E for 55 plus miles. I ran out of gas on the interstate right as you guys were deep in the sauce over Breck Epic tire choices. Definitely the first time I've ever run out of gas and been stranded on the side of the road. It was sick. So shout out to the best bike podcast around and for all the hypnotizing content that makes us listeners feel like we're a part of your crew. Keep doing what you do. Thanks, Drew.
It's high praise.
You guys, you guys ever done that?
Have you ever ran out of gas?
No,
I
have
don't think
not.
my car would let me now.
Electronic car.
No, just to...
It doesn't take gas.
It starts yelling at you with 50 miles to go, and then it gets worse at 25 miles to go. I don't think I've ever made it past that. I'm sure you could, but I would hate to think what it would do at 0 miles to go.
Yeah.
Because it's lying too, right? That it's like we're on fumes, and like there was 5 gallons in there.
Bluffing.
Yeah.
You ever tried to call the bluff?
No.
No, you never ran out of gas either.
I think I want to know how Drew got back. And then I think I want to know if he finished the podcast.
Right? I would hope you finished the
Probably
podcast.
finish the
while
pod
waiting.
waiting for AAA.
Yeah, right? Gonna say, probably AAA came in to save the day. And hopefully he finished the podcast while waiting, like you said.
Yeah. Have you ran out of gas, Mike?
I have not. No.
I never have either.
I mean, my wife runs out of gas just about all the time, it feels like, but I'm always filling up her tank, which is good.
Nice. Good man.
She likes to call the bluff for sure.
Yeah.
I don't live on
Or
the edge
she's
like
so
that.
into her podcast, she forgets.
Could be.
Yeah.
Nice.
I
That's awesome.
haven't. My Sprinter van now it's like a 2012, and the gauge is trying to explain for people listening. It's like I don't know, what would you call that? Like a
Needle?
and it's not a needle though. So the bars.
Oh, it has bars, right?
But the bars aren't equal. So the first bar, like when you fill up the tank, takes like 100 miles to go down. The last 3 bars take 30 miles. So it's like drinking out of a martini glass, right? Like your first sip, you never touch the top. Like it's like, oh yeah, I've got so much martini left. And then the last sip, it's like, down to nothing.
Yeah.
That's how my gas gauge is. So I never call the bluff because I don't know where it's at.
That's a great metaphor, Liam.
Yeah.
That was. Did you come up with that like off the cuff?
The martini glass?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm every time I'm road tripping, I'm so upset at this guy. He's like, everything's great about the Sprinter vans of this era, but that. I'm like, who approved this gas gauge?
That's crazy.
It's like such a German thing to slip through the cracks. It's just like, this doesn't make sense for anybody. Yeah. Interesting.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But you got to know by now how many miles you can get to the tank.
Yeah. If I pay attention to that.
Yeah.
I pretty much just try to refill when it's on the 3 or the 2.
Yeah.
And like never take it to the 1 if I can.
That's the safe bet.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
Also, it's better to fill your tank at quarter tank because the fuel pump works less hard.
Oh, then if you like run it all the way down.
Yeah.
If you
the bottom of the tank is starting to come into the fuel lines. So you want your tank to be full.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So
best practice, maybe half a tank.
Yeah.
You know,
that would be good. Yeah.
That's
that's a lot of
that's overachieving.
Responsibility.
That's a lot of responsibility for sure.
Yeah. So now you got mountain bike and car tips.
Yeah. And that's what this podcast is all about, just spanning the gap of knowledge, you know.
We don't even need to talk about bikes if you want to guys want to get into coffee or whiskey or something.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, no
Tiki
problem.
This
Tiki drinks?
Hey, I love a good tiki bar, let me tell you. I mean, I assume you're a connoisseur as well.
Oh, of course.
What's the best tiki bar down in Orange County?
We have the Royal Hawaiian, which is an old school place. It's been around for a really, really long time. So
where's that at?
It's downtown Laguna Beach.
Nice.
Used to be part of the Royal Hawaiian Hotel too. The hotel is gone, but the restaurant's still there. It's come and gone a couple of times. And just before the pandemic, they kind of stopped being a tiki bar. So that was a super bummer, but they're back to being a tiki bar now.
Nice.
They closed for a bit and reopened. And
nice.
Yeah.
Sweet. So that's the go-to. That's your recommendation if I were to go down there?
For sure in Orange County, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Strongwater. I can't leave them. Man, Tiki Files would be flipping out if I said Royal Hawaiian was the go-to. Strongwater, that is the one that's like the destination. Like people travel from around the country to go there.
Oh, wow.
It's in Anaheim.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, good to know. I'm going to have to refer to that the podcast next time I go down there.
Yeah.
Have you been to Ventiki up in Ventura?
Of course.
Yeah, just confirming. I know you're
been there
Ventura
way
local.
Too much.
That's a pretty sweet spot.
Ventiki's pretty OG. It's a good spot. There used to be a garage Ventiki bar in Strand that we'd go to quite often. Obviously, it was not open like to the public, but served very strong drinks there for a very good price.
You love to hear it.
Yeah.
You love a good tiki bar. There's also a really cool one on Catalina Island. I don't know if you guys are ever there.
It's on my list, like within the next year. We just need to like pick a weekend and go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Worth it for sure.
There might or might not have been a secret industry tiki bar at Lost and Found Gravel Race.
Oh.
And that's all I can say about that.
That's neat.
That's pretty cool.
It was cool. It was a nice surprise. It was way more, I heard about it, and then it was way more legit than I thought it was going to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of riding bikes, Liam, why don't you start us off? Tell us about some bikes and rides you've been enjoying lately.
Oh, I've just been grinding away uphill for what feels like weeks now.
Yeah, well, you have. That's why it feels like
actually,
that.
Yeah. A lot of uphill riding, a lot of downcountry-esque rides where me and Tybin have just been doing stupid 4-hour rides with 5,000 to 7,000 feet of climbing and starting at like 9 o'clock. So we purposely are in 85-degree weather.
Heat training.
Yeah.
Training. Yeah.
Ouch.
Solid.
And every time we did one the other week in Ojai, and we kind of were doing like, we went up Caesar, which is like an hour, I think it was like an hour, 10-minute climb at like pretty much full threshold effort. And we're adding on an extra loop, which climbed like an extra 1,000 feet, descended a 6 single track, and we had to climb halfway back up that fire road again. And both of us were sitting in the shades saying, why do we do this? We could not do that extra loop and just go straight to the next downhill and cut out about an hour plus of riding in this heat. And we both couldn't get ourselves to cut, and we both made ourselves do the whole ride. So it was good, but it sucked for sure.
At least you guys found some shade out there.
Barely, yeah. We're like both cooked up against the hillside with like the one bush that was thick enough to provide shade in this SoCal.
Yeah, I was going to say the SoCal struggle.
Yeah, SoCal struggle desert landscape of, high noon, there's no shade out there.
And no trees.
No trees.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've been doing that a lot. Tire testing, and leave to Downeyville in less than a week. So
nice. Have you come to a conclusion as to your tire setup?
As of now, I'm going to start practice in Downeyville on a Vittoria Barzo front, Vittoria Mezcal rear 2.4, and their like new XC race setup.
Nice.
So
sick.
The test is going to be in Downeyville because you never flat down here, and then I flat up there. So if they don't flat, that's what I'm going to be running.
With the Turbo Light insert?
Turbo Light inserts, yeah. Front and rear.
Nice.
So I've also been riding my Banshee with some Shimano XT Di2 on there.
Nice.
So got in a couple rides on that as well.
Very sick.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Nice.
Sweet.
What about you guys, riding some bikes lately?
Yes.
Of course, always. We both just got back from Northwest Tune-Up in Bellingham. So we did a little bit of riding up there.
Rad.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's so cool. How's that?
It was super fun. Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know. What'd you think? It's the verdict.
I mean, it's always a good time.
Totally.
You had been in Bellingham before?
Yeah.
We were, some classic trails and some stuff we had never ridden before that was really nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Sick.
Yeah, it's
looks
trippy. What's that?
That event looks like a good time.
It
looks
is
fun.
for sure.
Like,
yeah,
everyone's kind of out there. There's like concert, right? Like bands play in the evening and whatnot.
Yeah, and this sweet transition between the bike crowd and the concert crowd in the evening. So like between 5 and 6, we'll keep the booth open even after like the bike festival ends, just because the wave of people is starting to come in. And we like got a booth closer to the concert entrance this year and could get a lot more exposure to that of like people curious about one. Like they all know, right? Like they live there. They know it's a mountain bike town. Like everybody's at least thinking about it. Or if they've got the opportunity, like, let me go explore a little bit. Good conversations.
Nice.
Cool. It's a stark contrast from your summer riding, though. There's lots of trees.
Yeah.
There's lots of shade.
Yep.
Right.
And the trails are not blown out. So, I mean, in their eyes, maybe.
They say it's blown out. I'm like, are you kidding?
It is all
hero
time.
dirt. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good event.
Nice.
That's so rad. You guys bring bikes up there? Or
we did, yeah.
Yeah. Or are you guys riding?
I was on a Yeti SB140.
Nice.
Then I was on my Stumpy 15.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Good. Kind of do it all bikes for up there. Probably a little undergunned on a couple trails. I'm sure if the locals took you down some gnar, but
for sure. But it's
overall it's good.
Both good bikes to travel with.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know what you're getting into. You
over
know?
fork too, so it's a little bit. It's ready for it.
Yeah.
Nice. Is your personal 140?
Yeah.
Nice. Great minds think alike. I've got one myself.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah. Oh, with Shimano as well. Indeed.
I didn't choose that part.
It chose you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I've been kind of riding a little bit. My 140 as well, just kind of locally. And then I rode the Amflow last night down in Sycamore. That was pretty cool. Fully rebuilt, ready for some more thrashing, as you would say.
Just did it, 25-mile ride in 2 hours?
17 miles in 1 hour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just a quick rip before dinner, you know.
Yeah.
It seems like they did a little bit of trail work on Backbone, actually. I don't know if I told you that, but they kind of trimmed up and widened down the bottom, which is super nice. It's not like pushing you off the trail really anymore.
Yeah, I was doing that.
Yeah, and then they kind of trimmed that like super overgrown section in the middle, so that was pretty cool. Haven't really been back there in a while. A couple months or something like that. It's been too long. But yeah, that's kind of all that. We've got a bunch of excellent questions from listeners for Shimano as well. But I mean, do we just jump straight into this amazing question right here?
Yeah, let's hit this question. We'll hit a couple drivetrain questions.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, this is probably arguably the toughest question we have here, but if you had to replace your hands with kitchen utensils, which ones would you pick and why?
Nick, you want to go first?
Well, I feel like there's some obvious answers. My tendency is always to start asking questions about the question. And so, yeah, like if I chose chopsticks, could it be like an Edward Scissorhands kind of thing where I could have 10 on one hand and basically
no rules?
Might be a way to go.
Yeah.
Like 5 pairs of chopsticks that could each pick something up. I feel like though you'd need to have one of the hands would need to be a knife.
I had a similar thought because if you're doing any sort of prep work,
although if you had the right utensil for hands, you could still hold a knife.
Oh,
so we're
I didn't think about that.
We're not excluding any other utensil use, right?
Right.
That's how you know his position at Shimano is much higher than mine at work. Because I'm like, fork and knife. What else do you need?
Wow.
I went straight to spatula because I cook on the Blackstone all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, mine was a very simple. I went where your brain went, Liam.
Yeah.
I went straight to. Well, I just need a spatula to cook on a Blackstone, right? Like tacos, fried rice.
Yep.
Do it all.
What about the other one though?
I didn't get that far. I didn't know I had two options.
Yeah, well,
I got two hands, but I didn't know.
Both hands.
Oh man.
Yeah.
See, I was thinking like a the camp like spork fork knife combo.
Yeah.
I was thinking that on one, so you have a little serrated edge, the bowl, and the prongs.
Yeah.
And then I was going like more tongs on the other side, so I can just pick up big
tongs
stuff.
Would be a good one.
Yeah.
Tongs, those could be utilized quite well. See,
I want to change my answer. Actually. Not to tongs. Yeah, I had this image pop into my head of Inspector Gadget. So like one of those immersion blenders that's got the interchangeable hands to them, and then you could start making your own attachments and even like make like a electric clamp or something. Like
you're an engineer,
you got a motor that you could. Right. I'm assuming that electric power is okay.
Yeah.
You didn't say that.
Yeah, no rules. Yeah, electric power can obviously be attained. Yeah. We could wire that into something. Yeah. Wow. That's a good answer. I'm going to have to probably go. I mean, my initial instinct was spatula knife, but what if you had a sharp spatula that could kind of double as a knife? Or maybe sharp on one side, Yeah, maybe spatula with the sharp side and then tongs for the other. You could probably accomplish a wide range of tasks, I feel like, with that. You could be a hibachi specialist.
You could be a hibachi specialist.
Throwing fried rice around.
Yeah, just sharp, just two sharp spatulas. You're chopping, you're throwing.
Right?
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
We actually went to hibachi like maybe a few weeks ago. It's always a good time. This guy did the craziest onion volcano, when they do the crazy whatever. I mean, it was a fire hazard for sure. It's always a good time though. Sweet. How about we jump into a drivetrain question?
Yeah.
Let's see. Go ahead, Liam.
All right. Drivetrain questions for Shimano. When Shimano started to design the wireless Di2 drivetrains for mountain bike, what were the expectations for the new product? Were there problems that wanted to be fixed, or was it simply to offer a wireless drivetrain to compete with the other big players in the drivetrain space? While the previous wired 12-speed was 6 years old, it still held up to today's performance and range. Were there concerns about having something that would not hold up to 6 years of future performance? And that's kind of a couple questions.
It is, yeah. But I think I can maybe answer the way that the product development went because like in the beginning, I mean, we basically start with like a list of requirements that we want, like directions that we think the market is going or response to like how the previous product is performing in the market right now. And I think that especially when you see products come out on the market that are fairly similar to each other, I can tell you for sure that like the development cycle is so long that we couldn't have responded to transmission that quickly. There wasn't enough time. It was pretty clear that derailleurs needed to get stronger. Like all derailleurs were taking small hits and then the shifting was suffering. Mm-hmm. So I think we both just looked at the same thing and thought that's the thing that's got to get better about the next generation is we need to make a stronger version. And then we went about solving it in totally different directions. So making an electronic version of that was obvious. I'd say that one was more of a response that once wireless electronic shifting came on the market, it was really surprising to us how successful it was because we had kind of just seen a not very successful implementation of Di2 on the mountain bike side. And so when I guess I joined the product development team right before the last XTRM 9100 group launched 7.5 years ago. So like I came in for like the last 9 months of it or something like that. And we still had test camps and we were playing around with some electronic shifting back then. But it wasn't like electronic shifting was our main spec. And so we're just kind of like, it doesn't really feel like it's resonating with the market like it had been on the roadside. And it had a slow start on the roadside too. So we thought maybe we just need to be patient with it. But we decided to not hold back the mechanical, the rest of the M9100, the last one, for the sake of Di2. And so the plan back at that time was keep working on the Di2 stuff, and if it comes out a year later, then great. Like, it's just a shifter and derailleur that we need to make updates to. And so that was our plan, was that if we can do it in the first year and maybe push it to 2 years later, like, we'll still accept it. But around that time, wireless electronic shifting became a thing. And when it first came out, admittedly, there was a lot of skepticism in our camp about, well, it's just wireless. Like, what's the benefit of that? Like, it's, you've got a smaller battery, like, you've got to worry about battery security, and you've got range anxiety now. And, but just the fact that it looked better on the bike, it was easier to work on at home. Like, it was so easy to install. Like, we really underestimated the benefit of the advantages that just inherently come with wireless, and just kind of thought of them as like an aesthetic thing. And like, if you've got clean internal routing, like, certainly everybody who's running a tri bike has got Di2 on it, and like, all the wires are just inside. And so shouldn't you be able to do that with a mountain bike as well? And it's definitely harder on a mountain bike, not being able to stick the battery inside the seat tube. But I don't know. I think those are kind of separate, like, small little side issues. It really was that, like, that was the thing that resonated, was having components that were that easy to install and, like, made the front end of the bike look really nice.
Yeah.
And without needing special equipment. Like, really, at the end of the day, mountain biking has got kind of its own identity, and things that fly with road bikes or triathlon or gravel, like, just, it's not going to resonate with mountain bikers the same way. So saying you could put the wires inside the handlebar, like, it doesn't really work that way. It's like, well, I don't want them to, though. Like, I just want it to look like kind of sweet and simple.
Yeah.
And like it belongs in the dirt. Right. So today's performance and range, I think,
like, the old XTR has held up, and all the 12-speed stuff has held up so well, right? Like, it's not outdated, essentially. As far as range goes, performance goes, weight, all that stuff. It's spot on with anything. It just has a cable that actuates it. Right. So,
well, which is why we haven't discontinued any of that stuff at the moment. I mean, we'll see where the market goes, and it's probably going to be very different for XT and XTR. Like, if you're buying an XTR bike, basically the demand is for electronics at that point. But XT mechanical, especially, like, that shifter and derailleur are still around. Maybe, like, if you want a light, simple, dependable setup, then that's still the way to go. So, yeah.
I think we recognize that there's still a handful of the market that wants a mechanical, simple drivetrain, right? Like,
yeah, I'm one of them. I love mechanical stuff. It's just no worries, hop on, go. Yeah.
The interesting thing to recognize, like, or maybe the way to think about it, is that anybody for the last couple of years, if they had been buying a relatively high-end bike, we've got a lot of sales numbers saying that electronic shifting is the way to go. But if you look at, like, when it comes down to the actual rider's choice about what they wanted, like, they wanted a complete bike that was gonna come with wireless electronic shifting. So a lot of people have ended up with wireless electronic shifting that either didn't care or actually didn't want it and had to accept it. So this is a time where people are finally going to have good choices on both sides.
Yeah,
for sure.
Sure, you guys were a little bit clued in to when Specialized dropped the Stumpy 15, and it did not have mechanical routing on the carbon frame. Did you guys have heads up on that?
If that was okay, like, year and a half or so before they did it. Like, double checking our launch time. No, maybe it was 2 years, because they would have known the launch timing otherwise. But yeah, we, like, had to sit down at Sea Otter together, and they said what they were planning on doing, and we're like, oh yeah, it won't be that much longer until our wireless stuff comes out. And so I think it should be all right.
Yeah.
Nice.
There was, I think I said I had Stumpy 15, and there was like a 6-month window where I didn't have our Di2 stuff, so I was like wiring a cable on it, like all bummed out. And now it's Di2 and it's all clean and good.
Yeah.
There was a small window where there was a mechanical cable zip tied to it.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you just zip tie it around, zip tie it around the outside of the frame?
Yeah, totally.
Dang, that is crazy.
I have an added question here that I just thought of after you're answering that one. Do you think that, because this is my opinion from having worked on all bikes from 1x10 all the way till now, do you think if we stayed at 11 speed and the derailleurs were a little bit more robust and a little less finicky, electronics would be as big of a part as they are today? Like, if I think of 11 speed, you could bash that derailleur and have way easier adjustment than 12 speed now, which B-gap's a huge important deal. Micro adjustments, quarter turns are a huge deal. Derailleurs seem more sensitive to impacts and slight alignment issues compared to like 11 speed stuff.
I wonder, do you think that's...
It's kind of a hypothetical, but...
Well, and that's kind of what the Link Glide drivetrains were trying to address a bit as well. Like, talk about nice mechanical shifting options that are adding in durability, and they use like a fundamentally different cable pull where it pulls the same amount in every gear, so you end up with a wider range of adjustment a bit. But it's a little hard to make an apples to apples comparison, because with 12 speed we got Hyperglide Plus from us. Like, basically shift technology really evolved in the last 7 years from both sides. And so I think if you hopped on an 11 speed Shimano bike now, you'd be frustrated with the shift quality, like that clunk, clunk, clunk as you're accelerating, and a little bit slower shifting when you're shifting into an easier gear. And so really, if we're just talking about range of adjustment and robustness, then it's a nice thing to have. I think that we most riders need about a 500% gear spread on their bike. And if you, like, a lot of people really could get away with less than that. It's pretty interesting with the Di2 setup. You can see how much time you spend in each gear. And I've been shocked, like on my 945 setup, that like, really, I don't use the 9 like at all. Like, I could have an 11 speed 1146 cassette, and as long as I got the right size chainring, like totally works. Like, doesn't bum me out. But assuming that you do need a 500% gear spread, that gets to be pretty big for 11 cogs to jump across.
True.
Yeah, true. But you're right. If you have the right chainring size, like same thing. I was running the 946, new Di2, and it doesn't really leave much to be desired, like in 90% of terrain, unless you're on something like insanely steep, right?
And what chainring did you put on there?
I think it was a 30.
30?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I made you go 30 because there's no way you've gone 28. Stronger than that.
Yeah. But I loved it, It was refreshing, honestly.
Nice.
Yeah, to just have kind of a more consistent, I guess, change across the cogs,
Yeah.
But
we had made that 11-speed cassette for the M9100 group that was just the first 11 cogs of a 1051 cassette. So you didn't really need a special derailleur. Like, you'd use the short cage one because it was a 1045, but you just wouldn't use the last click in the shifter. And even the first shifters had like a little lockout to disable the 12th click. That cassette got pulled, but we had already produced like some of them, a couple thousand. So it turned into this pro only cassette. So all the pros would use the 11-speed cassette, and then we never sold any of them. So that was what I was building my bikes with, like exclusively.
Wow.
Pro setup.
And I mean, anybody could make one. You just cut the 12th cog off your cassette. It's not that
I did it off
Shimano does not endorse that. I'm just kidding.
I did that on an Eco cassette. I cut the 50 off, and it was all gold. And went a little viral, like chopping up at the time like a $500 cassette to make it 11 speed.
Because on the 12 speed, the Shimano cassettes, it's like the first, is it 3 or 4 are pinned together, or? And then
they're riveted to a carrier. Yeah.
You're right. So you would have to cut it off, right? But then
you'd have to cut the carrier.
But then the smaller cogs are individual. Like after that point, right?
Yeah. I think it's the bottom 4 or 5.
Nice. I guess what's like kind of the reasoning behind that as well? Behind like having some pinned and then some not.
Well, the top are alloy and the bottom are steel, right?
Yeah, so that's part of it, is that we can change materials across the cassette. So for XTR, there's 3 aluminum ones and then 5 titanium ones, and then the rest of them are steel. So you get a really good mix of durability and weight. But it also means that we can use a different process to form those cogs. So when they're put under pressure, like a compression, like forging or stamping or something like that, you're aligning the grain. And so when you and compacting it a bit as well. So when you start cutting the teeth, you're not slicing off the ends of a bunch of like open grain, basically. So you end up with a stronger product if you can form those cogs individually. So you end up with less broken teeth or reducing weight for the same strength, right?
Nice. I've always kind of wondered that as well, just like looking at them and putting them together, right? Because instead of just like having a one-piece cassette or kind of like the SRAM ones, right? Yeah, that's super interesting. I never realized that. Well, sweet. How about this next one? Then we can hop into a little break. Shimano has always been known for crisp, consistent shifting. With the move to wireless, what performance benefits are riders likely to notice on the trail compared to either previous Di2 or mechanical groups?
There's a couple of things there. So with electronic shifting, you're getting basically a disconnect from the action of pulling the cable. So particularly like when you're shifting to an easier gear, like you can kind of feel the resistance change through the cable as the derailleur's like getting pushed back from the chain. That disconnect, though, maybe can be a good thing sometimes, that because it goes effortlessly. And I've found, like, if I'm going to race a bike, it's going to be a cross-country race or usually like a marathon race, but I find myself shifting a lot more often now because it's a Hyperglide Plus system that shifts super fast, and because it's so effortless to hit that shifter. And I've got like an old thumb injury, so it gets really, really hard to pull cable as I get deeper into a long race. But what's different, I mean, we kind of can call out Hyperglide Plus as a separate thing, that the way that the chain interfaces with the teeth is a new unique system where like the inner plate on the chain is extended out past the roller, so that inner plate is touching every tooth, and you can predict the way that the chain is going to move from cog to cog a lot better. So it allows for shifting under load, but also doing it super fast. And basically the key is, this is more when you're shifting to a smaller cog and accelerating, is that old systems for forever, the way that they had worked, and kind of the foundation of Hyperglide, even been around since the 80s. But even before that, the way that a chain shifts is that it disengages with a cog, and then it's kind of airborne for a split second, and then it lands on the next cog. So that's why older drivetrains, you'd get that clunk, 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 especially if you're like adjusting it in the repair stand, and you'd be looking for that like nice, satisfying clunk. Yeah. And the key to fast shifting under a lot of load is to just start driving the next cog before you've let go of the previous cog. And so the chain really wants to jump down to the next smaller cog. So it's basically having the chain grab onto, at some point, it's going to be just a single tooth, right? Where like you need that tooth to rotate out of the way instead of letting the chain jump off to the inside. So you can end up with faster shifting because the derailleur movements are more precise and consistent and effortless, and you're more willing to do them with an electronic system. But the other part of like the shifting performance difference that we get compared to like our current mechanical systems is that the stabilizer mechanism in the derailleur is different. So the spring tension is considerably higher than it was before. And the difference there, as it relates to shifting, is that the upper pulley basically is bouncing around less. So as you're riding, it doesn't have to be like super rough terrain, like even on a gravel road, like that kind of natural vibration that's coming from your upper pulley, like that's what's guiding your chain around. So keeping it more consistently tucked up under the cassette with having lots of chain wrap around the cassette leads to faster, more consistent shifting. It was what opened the door to being able to do a 9-tooth cog, because that shift from 11 to 9 is particularly easy for the chain to like jump forward a tooth and start doing damage. But the new derailleur design was really the reason that we could pull it off.
Nice. Definitely one thing I noticed just with the shifter, like you said, that super light action just makes it so easy to bang out gears. It's like amazing to just, you can almost just like flick it and it'll bang out gears, which is so nice.
That's my favorite thing, is to be in a race and like in undulating terrain and be shifting like easy, hard. And then just watching all the other riders around me. And I've heard arguments for it like being the other way, that less shifting trains you to widen your cadence band. So like you're a better athlete with a wider cadence band. But I don't know, man. Like jury's out on that one. Like I think lots and lots of shifting might be a good way to go too. Huh?
Yeah. Even after riding Di2 for however long now, and then you go back to mechanical, it's kind of crazy how much it's just such a different feeling, you know, and like you can, it's hard to explain.
It, to me, like the easiest way to say it is like going from an automatic car back to a manual car. Like you're thinking more, you almost like Hybrid Glide Plus is a little bit different because you can still kind of smash through gears with power.
Yeah.
But you're still kind of thinking a little bit more about your shifts or what is going on versus the electronics kind of like brainless almost.
For sure.
You're thinking about the shift lever effort too.
Yeah.
Right? Where
definitely.
with Di2, you forget about that, you know?
Yeah.
One of my favorite things, which you could still kind of do on Hybrid Glide previous, I should say mechanical 12-speed, but the double shifts with the electronic, which is something you can't really do on the SRAM side, is the push through, the double push. I was riding an undulating downhill, but it had 2 or 3 climbs in it, where I was like pushing through to easier gear, and it was like the 2 is perfect. It's like downhill up, shift 2, and then coming over the top, shift 2 down. And it's just like boom, 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 boom. And I did like you said, like 3-4 times on like whatever, a 5-minute downhill trail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think on the cross country or down country bike where you're changing speeds more rapidly, like that's where I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
You know, on the enduro bike where maybe you do a fire road climb and then you have like a little more time before you drop into a descent. Maybe I don't do it as much, but on the cross country bike, I feel like, I'm double shifting all the time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Right. Yeah. I think we kind of naturally ended up in that use case because that's where shifting is valuable, fast, like constant shifting. But obviously, right, my average ride in Orange County is a fire road climb to a descent. It's just straight to the easiest gear.
Yeah. But yeah, it is amazing how quickly you can get all the way down or up the cassette with that. If you just pump through to the double shifts every time, it's pretty mind-blowing, honestly. Yeah. What do you guys say we do a quick break for a word from our sponsor? And now, a word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Chef Arm, the world's first bionic arm built for the kitchen. Yes, we finally did it. Science has peaked. Why waste time holding utensils when you could be the utensil? Picture this. You stroll into the kitchen, pop off your boring old hand, snap on a whisk attachment, and boom, you are the batter boss. Pancakes? Fluffy. Eggs? Scrambled with rotational torque NASA would envy. Need a spatula? Click. Want to julienne some carrots with laser precision? Click, click. Need a wine opener? Buddy, there's an attachment for that too. I opened a bottle of Cab last night with my forearm. Felt powerful. Slightly dangerous. Mostly powerful. And listen, no more drawer clutter. No more mystery spoons. No more asking, where's the garlic press? The garlic press is you now. So level up your limbs. Take your culinary chaos to the next level with Chef Arm. Go to chefarm.com/slapchop and use the code STIRCRAZY for 10% off your first attachment. That's chefarm.com/slapchop. Chef Arm, whisk it, flip it, live deliciously unhinged. And now, back to the show. And we're back with some more excellent questions.
Yeah. Question 4 is where we're going to start.
Awesome. Okay. This one's about battery life and reliability and rough conditions. They're always big concerns. How have you tested the new system under extreme trail conditions? And what's the real world battery life riders should expect?
Yeah. I could talk a little bit about the development process. We have a team of test riders that are kind of members of the product development team. So it's our skunk development program. And we've got 5 riders in the US and 1 in Sweden. And in the US, we've got Adam Craig living in Maine. So he's got some rough conditions to test in. Bryn Atkinson in Bellingham. Nathan Riddle in Ashland. So certainly they get snow in the wintertime, dry in the summertime. Joe Murray's in the desert in Sedona, but they get a little bit of moisture too. And then Paul Thomasberg is in Bend, Oregon. So those are kind of the range of conditions that we get to test in regularly, in addition to all of us riding in Southern California, of course. But we were really kind of backed into a corner with getting a battery on the derailleur in the first place. That was the most challenging part of the design, was that, okay, like we've made this decision, it's got to be a wireless electronic system. Now, how do you get a battery in the derailleur and work around the patents that are out there?
It's a patent minefield, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's really a longer story about it, but like the place that we found that we could put it was inside the parallelogram of the derailleur. And that it ended up opening all kinds of doors for like making the derailleur stronger, turning the whole thing into a big wedge shape so that it'd get pushed out of the way. But the space for the battery ended up being perfect, like really the best that we could have done. And I don't think we ever would have come up with that if we hadn't been kind of backed into it, right? So the idea of, well, the parallelogram is already like a built-in cage that's protecting the derailleur. And then the way that the battery is secured in the derailleur, that's the thing that had a bunch of patents around it too. So making a door that slides into a channel ended up being really, really secure. And we could build in like modes of failure where the battery door is actually meant to be like a bumper, like that's your point of failure. So it kind of killed the need for being able to replace like the individual parallelogram plates, because you've got like this shock absorber built into it that'll take all the impact and be your engineered failure point, and it just is the battery door. And even if that happens, the battery still doesn't fall out. But really kind of what I've been building up to is that the battery inserts from the bottom, so the electrodes are at the top facing down, and so there's no chance for water to pool around where the electrodes are going to be. And that sliding door that slides along the channel, it's got a little wedge in it too, so it pushes the battery up against the seal and creates good tension against the seal. And then we could make the seal really small and circular, and a round seal is the best shape for a seal. Like, just, you don't want any corners in your seals. Yeah. The one thing we've heard so far, just laying it out on the table, is that if you get this like really like watery, silty mud, it can get, like, the idea is that not to seal the battery housing, just to seal the terminals at the end of it. So mud can get in like into the battery housing. So if you're riding in those really like soupy, muddy conditions, just wash the bike right afterwards, because if that silty mud dries, then you like really got to work to get that battery out, or like just get it wet again. I think that's really the answer.
Yeah.
But that was the maybe straight away out of Leo Gang when it got raced for the first time, was like, hey, so turns out don't let it dry.
Yeah, don't pack it up, drive 4 days, and unload it the next race.
So what's the reasoning behind not wanting to seal the whole battery compartment versus just the electrodes?
Is it like if you seal it but water still gets in there, it's now sealed inside?
That could be. I don't know. We didn't really have a question about, or like a conversation about it during the development. I think it was basically, it's mountain biking. Like, you're going to go ride it in the mud, and don't try to keep the mud out. Basically, I mean, the super basic engineering principle is that you want to reduce your sealed off area as much as possible. And the smaller the seal is, the more effective it can be. A couple generations ago, we made all of our bottom brackets smaller too, so you can't tell so much on the press-in ones, but the thread-in ones, like the cups, all got smaller. And so it seems super weird that with all talk about the efficiency of larger bearings, that we would come out with new ones, and then the most expensive one was the smallest cups, and it's because the seals could be the smallest on those as well. And so the seals are more effective when it's smaller.
And also a smaller seal will also be faster.
True. Yeah, if there's less like
friction,
surface area there. Like, you think of every molecule rubbing against some other molecule of something else. And it really is the same thing. Like, all those water molecules are trying to get past the molecules of the seal, and the less of them there are, then the easier it is to make a well-sealed system.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, I never really thought about that stuff. That's pretty cool. Never had somebody with knowledge about it explain it to me, I guess. So that's very interesting. Awesome. Well, how about this next one? Liam, you want to read that?
Yeah. XT Endure has been released after the big splash of XTR, talking Di2 12-speed. I would guess all three drivetrains were being developed at the same time, considering they came out within a, 6-week period from the XTR release to the XT Endure. That's about 6 weeks.
I don't remember what they were anymore. It's in the past.
It was a tight timeline.
Yeah.
As you said, you couldn't have developed transmission in the time you saw it to the time this drivetrain was coming out. Likewise, you can't just do Dior and XT 6 weeks after XTR. Like they're being developed at the same time. What differences in design process does that look like when you're developing 3 drivetrains at once?
Yeah, so that was a new concept for us. And we were motivated to do it to get electronic shifting systems out at like all the real, like true mountain bike price points as quick as we could. So we had like this good reason to do it, but it ended up working out really well anyway, and kind of feeds into like why there's no SLX group now either. Because particularly with the previous generation, but every generation before that, right? I've been in product development for basically 7 years, but been with Shimano for 19 as an employee and was even volunteering to be a race mechanic with them before that. So I've seen over and over and over again that the way that product development would always work was making this dream, like the absolute best you could do, no holds bar, make an XTR group. And then once it was done, which is maybe a year before it comes out, then you start working on the XT version. And it's like, okay, how can I make it cheaper? And literally not like 1 minute of work had been done on XT before you started. And even like the first microspline free hub body that I saw for the XTR 12-speed group when it came out was this much more complicated spline pattern that was going to be lighter. And I asked, like, can you make a steel version of this free hub body? And the engineers went, I don't know, because they literally hadn't thought about it.
I remember that thing.
Yeah. And so, thankfully when we were working with partners to like get other microspline free hub bodies in the world, I think it was Di2 that went, you guys are lunatics. Like there's no way. So, I mean, we learn a lot from every generation. And I think that, through that M9100 group and then the following 8100 and 7100 came out at the same time. And then 6100 came out another year after that. So it really was this like phased development of starting really kind of over again with XT and SLX at the same time, and then Dior of like, okay, what do we want to refine about it, and like where can we maximize value and reduce the cost? And in some cases, we ended up on kind of a dead end road, and that ends up happening a lot with SLX, right? That like the SLX and XT cranks were almost exactly the same, and then the XT and SLX brakes were almost exactly the same. Like the cassette has got one less aluminum cog and one more steel cog for SLX, which is by far the best-selling SLX component, by the way. That just because the all-steel Dior one, like that 51-tooth steel cog weighs, I don't know, 100 grams or something like that. Wow, maybe 80. Right, co-development of 3 groups. That's the tangent that I started from. So this time around, really, like it was the first time that our product development team had been making 3 different price points from the very beginning. And it goes even a bit beyond that too. Like we were working on the stuff that's going to come out next year at the same time too. So people will see kind of the rest, anything that feels like it's missing now. But we could kind of make plans, and not all of them worked either, right? That like, because the shifter maybe, especially when it's electronic, is like the hardest one to really differentiate. Like, how am I going to make a different electronic shifter and have 3 different price points? And we ended up in a really good space with the Dior one. Like, no one's really been able to ride it yet, but it gets rid of like the customizability of the paddles, and it gets rid of the double click, but it still has a really good tactile feedback, and like just the normal position of the paddles is a pretty good intuitive, like it basically feels like a mechanical shifter. Like you take what you get, like the paddles are where they are, but they're in a good spot. Like no one ever really was bummed that they couldn't slightly tweak the position of those paddles. So definitely nice to have for XTR and XT, but doesn't really feel like you're giving anything up for Dior. We ended up kind of touching with And this was hot on the heels of the previous Dior group, right? Like it then went into this next generation of electronic development. And what we had kind of tapped into with Dior was that all of our decisions along the way ended up getting dictated on how important is it for like real mountain bike riding. So, right now, like the Dior crank uses solid arms, and every previous Dior group had used hollow forged arms. So the cranks were lighter and stiffer, but like that's something that you would maybe rather have the cash in your pocket than have like on a mountain bike ride. And but there was another big debate about like, well, we could make Dior cheaper if we did like 11 speeds or an 1150 cassette or something like that. But like I said earlier, like you kind of need a 500% gear spread for like modern real mountain biking. And so those decisions went in two different directions. It's like, let's like make the crank cheaper than we had ever made it before, but let's make the drivetrain more expensive than we had ever made it before. And it started like elevating Dior a little bit in some spaces, like shifting quality, and lowering the price in some other spaces. And so, this identity of the brand, though, of kind of moving out of like this weird no man's land of like nice stuff, but a little bit overpriced and maybe a little bit of a waste in some spots where you'd see like just a Dior shifter and a derailleur on a bike that had nothing else from Shimano on it, to really kind of being like min-maxed out in like the right way. And I think because we really made it for that, you're getting into mountain biking and you're getting serious about it, or you just don't care about spending a bunch of money on a mountain bike. What is the bare minimum that you need? And like, what's the best way we can execute it for the least amount of money? Like that being the identity of Dior really kind of got solidified when we were working on three groups together. So XTR ends up being like no holds barred, any like idea that you got that we can reasonably execute, like we're going to do it. And that means like giving you all the choices that we can offer you. So cross country and enduro options. Then short cage and the long cage derailleur with the 945 cassette or the 1051 cassette. Three different brake options for XTR now. And so then XT gets pared down a little bit, but still kind of needs like some of those key options. Like the short cage derailleur is popular enough. And then maybe more aggressive riders that are more likely to use a short cage derailleur care a little bit more about the replacement cost of the derailleur in case something does go wrong. Hopefully that's not an issue with the new super strong derailleur, but it certainly had been with the previous generation. With Dior, I mean, all that's out right now is a shifter and derailleur, but it's only a long cage. It's a steel cage for the derailleur. Like the weight of the thing isn't really the top priority. It's really kind of shifting performance, being able to shift quickly with very little effort and have it still be really intuitive. Ended up, I think I keep coming back to it, is that we had this guiding light showing us the way the entire way, like a really good identity for XTR, XT, and Dior at this point.
Nice. And in a roundabout way, you kind of answered why there's no SLX in the Di2 line.
Yeah.
Dior elevated itself to good enough performance in your guys' eyes.
Yeah.
That SLX is kind of no man's land between XT and Dior now.
That price point, too, I think is like for a little bit more than the price of an SLX mechanical bike, you could now get a Dior Di2 bike. And we kind of have a bit of pride about the Dior brand too, like this original concept of the Japanese engineers coming to America and the UK and kind of studying this new thing of people riding their bikes off-road. And it really even kind of predates mountain biking a little bit. Like it was more like a trekking bike, like flat bar cyclocross bike, like and people riding those through the forest in the UK. And so the engineers came over and it's like you're just roaming freely through the woods, like a deer just bounding through the forest. And so Dior kind of sounds like if a Japanese person using, to be technical, like the katakana alphabet, which is what they use to approximate words from other languages. Like if you they don't have individual letters, they have syllables. So it's de or re. And that kind of sounds like deer. It's not really the Japanese word for deer, but it's like how you would write deer if you tried to write it in Japanese. So that's what Dior means. And so that legacy and history around it, if we had to like cut SLX or Dior, we were like, Dior's a little cooler. We like it.
Yeah.
Is that why you guys have like a logo with like the antlers?
Yeah.
So I just picked up got the Stump Jumper 15. We're going to go back to the Stump Jumper really quick. And then I was like, man, I really want an old Stump Jumper with Dior deer head stuff on it. Oh. And so finally found one, got it off eBay. It's great. I learned a fun fact about the Dior stuff that I didn't know before. The rear derailleur has a male deer head. The front derailleur has a female deer head. It's a nice touch. I didn't know.
That's awesome. Cool. I love that. I love how that idea jumping through the woods like a deer.
Is it old enough or is it too old for rapid rise?
Too old. Yeah. It's just little thumb shifters up top. Yeah, so this was the first gen mountain bike from Shimano.
Okay.
M700? 700.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Is there like a Shimano like mountain bike museum or something like that?
Oh, yeah. There's actually, I was just there. So there's a museum in Japan, and it's not just a Shimano museum, it's a museum of bikes. And so every bike in there is original except for one. So the first bike, you could like walk through a display. The first bike itself is the only not original one. It's a replica of what the first bike in the world looked like. Every other bike in there is an original.
Wow.
It's pretty unbelievable. And it's open to the public. So like if you're ever in Japan and want to book a tour, yeah, go look it up.
Oh, that's epic. Because I know there is like a Marin mountain bike museum, I believe, or something. Have you guys ever been to that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they actually brought a display to the Northwest Tune-Up, so they had like a little like traveling roadshow version.
Yeah, they had a booth there.
Seriously,
and Charlie Kelly was roaming around talking to people about the bikes too. Sweet.
Oh, that's so cool.
He was in front of me in line at the airport, actually. And he saw my Shimano shirt and introduced himself.
Right.
No way. Oh, that is so cool. Wow, so that museum is worth the trip, huh?
It is. Mm-hmm. It was one of the coolest things I've done over there. Just like walking through this, it was really cool.
So cool. Wow, definitely need to go to Japan one day. Well, you kind of answered this a little bit earlier, but from a rider's point of view, non-engineers, what part of the new system are you personally most stoked on, and why?
A lot. Well, yeah, I talked about shifting speed, like from a cross-country racer's perspective.
Yeah,
and I kind of. I'm kind of bipolar with my riding too, because I ride a cross-country race bike. Like I have an Ibis XC that I spend a lot of time on.
Nice.
And then also have a Transition Patrol that's for smashing stuff a lot more. But when I can like blur the line between the two, like the new setup, we were talking about this earlier, is taking those XTR cross-country race wheels and putting them on the SB140.
That's what I did, yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Because I'm heavy enough that I can notice stiffness differences on cross-country race wheels. And usually it's okay because you don't have enough traction to really flex a wheel that much anyway. So I'm a little nervous about what's going to happen when I put real tires on them.
Yeah.
But I was going to put like the Schwalbe radial casing tires on them too.
Nice.
I don't know if that'll be enough to rip them apart, but I'm keen to find out. And if I need to back it off a little bit and start sliding around. But I mean, what has had me so stoked about these things is that I have been, it's been the most fun competitor testing, was all the like super high end, top of the line cross country wheels that we had to buy, and I had to go like ride.
Oh man, I had to buy $2,000 to $3,000 wheel sets to ride. What a shame.
What a bummer, dude.
Even one of them ended up in Sweden. And so I was super bummed to have to let go of that set. And this was somebody else's wheels, so I won't give them credit, but they were very nice wheels. And I was like, hey, I haven't heard a report about those wheels in a while. Like, I bet those wheels are just sitting in a box, and I really want them back. So I asked him if he would ship me these wheels back from Sweden, and I did, and I still got them. I don't ride them anymore because we have something better. The one drawback to those things had always been that, like, if I'm in like race shape, I'll be like 180 pounds, and right now I'm at like 200 pounds, and I could tell as I'm gaining weight when I crossed 190 because that bike would start to handle different. And so to be a bit heavier than that and still having a great time on our cross-country race wheels, like it's not really a stiffness thing. I think it's like a predictability thing. Like they just ride really well. And I'm pretty surprised because we haven't had a wheel business the last couple of years, and we're like, let's try to just do a couple of cool things and float them out in the market. Like, it's not an OEM spec thing. It's basically just going to live in the aftermarket. And if we only sell them to people that want cool XTR logos on their rims that match the rest of the bike, then sweet. But that cross-country wheel, I think that thing might actually have some potential. So to see people get excited about it and to be that excited about it myself, like I'm at a loss for words. Like I didn't think we had it in us.
They're impressive, honestly. I mean, I put a couple hundred miles on them.
Similar weight too.
Yeah.
Right? Pushing them hard.
Yeah, definitely pushing them hard and haven't had any problems. I mean, it's definitely impressive. I mean, I have like dual forecasters on them so far. What kind of tires are you running on them yourself?
I haven't, like they're just the tire. I've ordered Schwalbe Radial, the Albert, trail casings.
Nice.
So that's basically, I don't know. I'm going up to Big Bear this weekend, so am I going to bring...
You're going to bring those with you?
Bring the XC wheels up there?
Diabolical.
I think I've got Recon Race on mine.
Nice.
On that transition spur.
Nice.
I'm into it.
That's a sweet setup.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you most stoked on so far?
I've got 3 things.
Nice.
So I think...
the drivetrain, the brakes, and the wheels.
Yeah, exactly. We did it. That's it. No, I think I don't know, the kind of Shimano answer, not Shimano answer, but like one of the obvious ones is the shifter. The shifter's rad. And the adjustability and like the feel. That thing ended up really cool. The other one that's fun is the rear derailleur, and mostly it's just hitting it, right? So I think when I came up here and like presented to you guys, I think I hit it and someone went, oh, like,
yeah, you didn't hold back. You socked that thing.
Yeah. And so that's been fun. Like when you show people for the first time, like that was pretty cool. One of the sleepers of the group, and not to keep going on the cross-country side, but we've been calling it the chicken beef combo brake. So it's the Enduro lever with the 2-piston caliper. So running that on like a down-country or cross-country bike, that brake is really good. Like I've been super impressed with how well 2 pistons work.
Nice. And that's on your spur as well. Nice.
Yeah. So that, and Nick and I had a pretty funny conversation where I was like, you can't put 2 or 3 rotors on a 2-piston brake. Like you just can't do it. Like you don't do that. And he's like, you should try it. And I did. And it's been one of the coolest brakes I've ever ridden.
That's
for
amazing.
Like a down country, cross country balancing weight and performance. It's really good.
Nice.
Downhill brake.
Yeah. Downhill brake. I might have to build up a new bike for next year.
Yeah.
With some other stuff.
Yeah. There you go. It's funny you say that about 2-piston brakes because I don't remember. I think it was at Forestall a couple years ago came with that Formula 2-piston brake.
Is Formula or brake
or something like that?
The brand braking.
And
have you guys heard of that?
Yeah, it's like an Italian brand. I want to say, but it was like it's Forestall. It's like a 40+ pound bike, and we're like 2-piston brake, and it was like one of the best feeling.
It's very consistent.
Yeah,
like a lot of the reason why I think you guys probably know more than I do. But 4 pistons is hard to get even every single time consistently, especially as it wears and you get a lot of dirt and debris in there. 2 pistons are just going to cycle much more consistently for a longer period of time, I think.
Yeah. How long do you want to talk about it? There's there, but for
That's
sure.
it.
Because we had complaints about wandering bite point from before this previous generation where there really only were 2-piston brakes. And the refinements that came with the last generation fixed the wandering bite point on the 2-piston brakes, and no one rode them because they're 2 pistons, right? But they really our XT 2-piston brake has got more powerful than a lot of 4-piston brakes on the market. And it's really just because it's got the same amount of power. It's developing the power at the brake lever instead and trying to keep the caliper light. And things are simpler back there. Like there really are a lot of arguments for running 2-piston calipers. And yeah, I mean, if obviously 4 is better, it's the same struggle that we have with
better.
Getting OEM spec on a 945 cassette can be a bit of a struggle because you got to sell it against a bike that's got more on it. But this is right. We're probably going to die on this hill. But if something just is more logical, whether it's the cool thing or not, then we're going to keep making it and hope that the tides turn at least. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think the hardest thing for that is clearly explaining it to the consumer, forward facing, right? I think there's a lot of things in the bike industry that are kind of like that. And it's it's just not explained well enough.
Yeah. That's
and
been
more is better. Always.
Really our weak point for a long time too. Well, a story that can sell itself. That's kind of what you need, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's why I called that brake a sleeper too, right? Is it kind of just maybe it doesn't get talked about enough.
Yeah.
It's really enjoyable.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, at least we're talking about it.
Right.
Yeah. So we're telling the story now. You try out 2-piston brakes, you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I think Downingville bike with XTR and chicken beef combo.
Shout out to Eddie for that one.
And some XTR wheels.
Yeah.
Tempted to go mechanical though. I know this whole thing's about Di2, but I just love mechanical shifting.
Yeah.
That's the end of that. I love mechanical shifting too. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is what we got right now.
Right. Well,
cool. We have a few more. That was a good transition.
I was going to say, perfect segue into brake questions.
We have a few more brake questions before we let you guys get back down south. So, you kind of answered it, but I know there's more intricacies of this. So, one of the long-standing critiques of Shimano brakes, maybe not long-standing, but previous generation of 4-piston brakes, has been the watering bite point. What exactly has been done to address that on the new models, and how confident are you that the issue is fully resolved?
Wow. Well, throwing the word fully in there is a little bit of a monkey wrench because
it's more resolved than previously.
Yeah. Well, and there are dozens of reasons why a brake lever might engage in a different point from one pull to the next. So some of those things are going to stick around because one of them could be like a ruptured inner line of a brake hose or just a bad bleed,
bad barb and olive connection.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, but what we're really talking about, I think, is the inherent performance of the system and how it would change throughout the course of a ride or a lap. So the thing that was done to address it was simply that we moved to a higher performance mineral oil brake fluid that flows faster, but it also flows more consistently. So like the name of it is low viscosity oil, but the consistency of the viscosity is really the more important thing, at least in terms of the characteristics of the fluid. The thing that really solves the problem, though, is a new piston seal that we're able to use because of that new fluid. And so they're faster rebounding piston seals that have got a super consistent rebound speed no matter what temperature they are. And that really, like to your point about 2-piston and 4-piston, that that's the hardest thing to get right, is to get all 4 of those caliper seals to spring back at the same rate and the same amount from one pull of the brake lever to the next. And just for, if you haven't gone down the rabbit hole of how a hydraulic brake system works yet, if you're not at that point in your mountain biking career, it's not like the spring between the brake pads that pushes the brake pads back. That's just there to keep them from rattling. It's a seal around the piston at the caliper that flexes when you pull the brake, and then it rolls back when you let go of the brake. And that's what pushes the fluid back up into the brake lever and the master cylinder. So if those seals don't roll back enough, then when you are braking and then let go and then pull again, then your lever will... I've told the story a little bit different way than I usually do, so now I've lost track of where I am.
Now you're backwards.
Yeah. I just need to say that's more likely to happen in cold conditions, and then that'll get me better on track. So you've still basically got some fluid like down in the lines when you go to pull the lever again, and so your bite point moves out. And just looking at what that seal's doing in different temperature conditions, because it also performs different depending on like how dirty or muddy the trail is, how much things are vibrating around, like other stuff. But the temperature thing is a nice, easy analogy, that if it's hotter and that seal springs back with more force, the fluid's even got some like momentum to it, and it'll overshoot and hang out in the reservoir in the brake lever, like above where the line is. And so you pull the lever again after letting go briefly, and the lever will come closer to the bar. So really the key is consistent performance in order to minimize like the change in the feedback from the system. And maybe like the bigger point is this is naturally going to become a bigger problem as brakes become more and more powerful, that like the 2-piston brake feels totally consistent with the old seals and the old fluid because it was a less complex system at the caliper, but also because you had just plain less leverage over the system. Yeah. And the more power a brake's got, the more feedback it's going to give the rider. Like those just are like, there's an inverse relationship between those two things. So being able to balance that, the easy way to do it would be to reduce the power of the brake. But kind of the hard way to do it is to really make the actual like function of the brake super consistent, and that's changing the seals in the fluid.
I think one thing to add to that too is I've seen a lot of people say like, oh, there's a new high performance fluid. Why don't I just put that in my old brake? Please don't.
Yeah.
Nick and I both got to be the test dummies of that.
Yeah, it was like this theoretical thing, and they were like, we should probably be sure, and then they sent it to us.
It's a good thing you made sure because, at face value, somebody's going to want to do that.
More is better.
Yeah. All right. The new fluid's got to be better than the old fluid.
Thankfully, they sent us 2 brakes too, and thankfully I was like putting it on. I'm like, maybe I'll just do the front.
Yeah, I think our bikes were both internally routed.
Yeah.
And so we both said, why don't we both just do the front? Like, let's try that. And I think we had both the same experience of just straight to the bar.
Yep.
That's a good idea. You guys just did one because that could have gone quite badly.
It wasn't the instructions either. It was, here's a set of brakes, go test them. And the scary thing about it too is that, you're used to if your brakes get hot and the lever pulls to the bar that you pump it.
Yeah.
But if your lever pulls to the bar, because basically you've got the wildest wandering bike point you've ever felt in your life, and it wanders so far that it comes to the grip, it's a wandering bike point. So if you keep pulling it, it's going to get worse. So, pumping doesn't help, and you just don't have brakes.
Wow.
I think we rode the same trail, but on different days, but around the same time too.
Mm-hmm.
So it was,
you guys had the same skid mark going off the trail.
It was front brakes, so it was a little more dangerous than skidding.
Oh my gosh, that was too funny. You guys, good thing you didn't just go straight for the steepest trail around, right?
Yeah.
Just okay, let me go find something. Oh man, that's too funny.
Here's a bonus question I threw in here. You guys developed a new electronic Di2 drivetrain at the same time as developing new brakes. Was there any thought into making paddle shifters like the previous drifters?
No.
Why not? It wasn't.
That was so cool.
Those were sick.
Some people love them. We still hear that at events and stuff.
Not enough to keep them in business.
For sure.
Not even a Di2 accessory button somewhere on that lever.
There was a point where we tested, because they're electronic switches, you can stick them anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that can still come around in the future. Is that I don't think that it really was as useful as we thought it was going to be when we tested it, and it would need. You couldn't really have any tactile feedback in a button that was on the tip of your brake lever. You could reach out and touch it really easily, but you'd be accidentally getting shifts when you were trying to brake, which was incidentally one of the problems with dual control,
or vice versa.
Dual control. That was the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great concept. Great idea.
The bike shop slang there, I think.
Yeah.
The brifters.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe a UK thing, a lot. They call the road ST levers.
Yeah.
Brifters?
Yeah, on the road side, I hear brifter more.
Yeah.
It is a brake and shifter, but do you remember those?
Yeah.
Paddles, yeah?
Totally.
Did you remember the rapid rise? Do you know what that is?
No.
No, yeah. Okay.
It's when derailleurs were backwards.
The spring, instead of springing down to the smallest cog, natural position was to spring into the easiest cog, and shifter moved different to the derailleur moved different to the shifter.
So it's like a traditional shifter, not like the indexing lever, but it was just backwards.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So those are really, when I'm working at the bike shop, I'm sure you came across them too. They're really fun to come across.
Yeah.
That's
It
wild.
was all backwards.
Yeah.
They were still current when I started at Shimano. We came out with the 970 XTR group a couple months after I started, or maybe 2 weeks before I started. But I was, I started in 2006 answering the phones in the customer service and tech support department. And that was what we were working on at races. I guess that first year we were taking off dual control, although we still had dual control for the 970 group. It still stuck around a while. I guess I was still riding it all through the end of the 9-speed days.
Dual control's 8-speed?
No, it was all 9-speed. It was
9.
the 960 generation is the one that was known for dual control, and then it would just stuck around as an option for 970. But 970 was really the return of the pod shifter again. And we had both rapid rise, right? Because dual control and rapid rise came together; they were at the same time, and which is handy because it meant that when you were pushing down on the brake lever, you were pulling cable on both sides I guess that would need to happen either way. But you also would be getting a harder gear when you push down on the brake lever. And because you needed to totally relearn how a shifter worked, it's just really important. This sounds like looking back on the mistakes that we made, but these were literally the exact same words that were being used to like talk up the group at the time. Like, you're about to relearn how to shift your bike. And so it's handy that it's rapid rise because you're going to be pushing down and accelerating on both sides.
Amazing.
Well, when I was wrenching at, average shop in Ventura, I'd come across some of these and have to relearn how to work on bikes. Because I'm like, what's going on? And this was probably 2012. So this stuff was phasing out, but it's still like pretty common.
I mean, enough bikes still roll
Enough
through,
bikes were still having that stuff on there, 2012, 2013, that, it was still like putting 9-speed chains on these bikes and figuring out why this derailleur's in the spokes. It should be all the way down here.
Yeah. We definitely had somebody come in the shop not too long ago with that setup, the dual control. And they had it was like either like a brake lever or something. And I'm like, how do you tell this person they need only brakes and drivetrain? I mean, what do you do, right? Because you can't really get replacement parts for that stuff nowadays anyways, right? I mean,
I don't think so.
Right?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You can search some eBay and find some brakes, but
I don't know why, but I pictured this person coming in with their brakes moto too for some reason, since we were just talking about everything being backwards. That thought just popped in my head, even though it's probably not what happened.
Super fun and nostalgic though. You gotta love it.
Well, is there any, we have a few more questions, but we're kind of getting long here. I guess of these, what would be your biggest reason for someone to upgrade, say they had previous XT or XTR brakes to the new ones?
That's a good question, actually, because not everybody had issues with wandering bite point on the previous brake. It kind of depends on where you live and what kind of riding you're doing. So for simplicity's sake, let's assume that we're talking about the 4-piston brakes, both before and after. There's a bit of a difference in the feel, but it's kind of subtle. So like if you were happy with the 8120 brake or the 9120 brake, any of the previous generation 4-piston brakes, you're definitely going to like the new ones. So the wandering bite point is like the big, overwhelming story that it's a perfectly consistent brake. But if you weren't having consistency issues before, then that kind of means that there's no difference, right? So the rest of it is we could still call them generational improvements, but maybe a little bit more subtle and worth telling that story that maybe people don't hear a lot too. One of the XTR specific ones is an ergonomic study. I guess it kind of applies to XT as well, that the new brake levers move a lot more in line with the way that your body is naturally moving. And I was pretty skeptical of this concept when I first heard it, but one of those test riders, Nathan Riddle, had made a proposal in his monthly report, made a drawing for a brake lever with a pivot point super close to the bar, and then he laid his hand over the drawing to illustrate why he wanted that. And I think our intuition is that you put your hand on the grip and reach straight out and think about where your knuckle is bending. And that's the distance from the grip that your pivot point should be, so that the tip of the brake lever is tracing an arc around it. So it's it's as much in a straight line as it could be. It's moving out in the beginning and then hitting its inflection point and then starting to come back in. And Nathan's point was, I want the exact opposite of that. I want to take advantage of the fact that the tip of the brake lever traces an arc. And because I don't ride reaching straight out from the grips and pulling straight back, I ride elbows out and with my fingers pointed in. And so I can take advantage of the fact that the brake lever is constantly moving in one constant direction as long as I'm on the top of that arc. So I want the pivot point to be close to the bar so that I'm always having the tip of the brake lever move outwards, and that's the direction that my fingers move in anyway. The engineers were stoked on that because it was wow, thanks for doing my homework for me. That's a great idea. We're looking for those kinds of breakthroughs. But then the engineer actually had a great idea to add on top of that he looked at how your hands actually are on the handlebars and noticed that they're kind of angled up and out as well. So he tilted the brake levers up by a couple of degrees, and now it just feels like your hand nests in there. So that ergonomic improvement, we get the upswept lever blades for XTR. We get the close pivot point on both XT and XTR, but we give up the upswept lever blade on XT. It costs more than you would think. And the rest of it, though, is stiffness of the caliper. We picked up a lot of stiffness at the caliper. And then we get some improved efficiency at the brake lever. Like, it's just better at transferring power. A good chunk of that actually is from that ergonomic benefit that it's working the way your hand is, and more of what you think you're putting into the lever is actually going into the hydraulic system. And so where we notice that difference on the trail, in particular, is like the really precise, like crucial braking. Like, you're on a steep technical trail and trying to like gauge the point where you're going to like release and like roll over a rock and hit the big drop or something like that. And or maybe if it's a little bit faster and you need to like shut it down quick and the trail is super steep and aggressive. I think a good place where the new brake separates itself from the old brake is when you're really deep in the stroke. That really was the point, was that the efficiency at the lever and then the strength at the caliper end continue to ramp up power when you're really deep in the lever stroke. And so, by comparison, the previous brake, if you get deeper in the lever stroke, it would feel like you'd get a diminishing return. As you pulled harder and harder on the brake, it wasn't ramping up the power at the same rate that it had been earlier in the stroke. And now it's a lot more like linear and predictable. So it's, I really notice a difference in the confidence that it inspires in the places where you need confidence the most on the trail.
Nice.
That is awesome that you said that, because I kind of felt like that. I used to have older generation Shimano brakes, and you kind of feel like the harder you squeeze, like you're like, you want more power, right? Mm-hmm. But with these new brakes, I definitely noticed that like consistently. I mean, I have yet to see like the full potential of the power, but there's definitely plenty of power on tap for sure.
Yeah, I just had a buddy ask me, we were riding pretty steep trails I was riding the XT brakes, and he basically asked me that. He said, when I had the XTRs on my last bike, I felt like the power diminished a bit as I was like getting into steep stuff, and I was riding them quite a lot. And I was like, oh, I don't feel that at all. I was like, I feel like I have so much power right now. But yeah, it's cool that is an actual like improvement.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if the guy was asking to like know if he should upgrade his bike or not, if those points speak to you, then there's a reason to like get the new brakes. But if all of those things are like, well, I don't ride my bike that way, then let's be upfront that no, you're not going to get any benefit then.
Yeah.
They look sweet.
The cables are closer to the bar.
Yeah. Parallel master cylinder. It's the modern aesthetic, man.
Nice.
Well, I mean, for someone who is upgrading on the aftermarket side, one of the neat things we did is we included, if you buy the brake kit, you get a metal set of pads and a resin set. So you can really start to tune the brake feel that you want, right? So if you maybe thought Shimano brakes were a little bitey or something like that, try the resin pad. Like, it totally changes the characteristic of the brake.
Nice. Yeah, that's something I'm looking forward to trying too. I've only tried the ones that it comes with. They come pre-installed with metallic pads
with
on the XTR.
pads,
yeah. That's how it had been for 15 years or so, is that they come with one set of pads, and so we have to choose. Everybody chooses, like a distributor that imports from Japan, they would choose, and so we pay a different price for the different brake pads. And like with the high end ones, we could even do non-finned if we wanted to. Bike manufacturers do the same thing. So we tend to see, particularly with like resin and Dior and SLX brakes, we'd see resin pads because they're cheaper, and maybe the non-fin ones, maybe not, depending on how much they feel like they stand out. But for aftermarket sales through Shimano North America, we always decided that like, let's give people the best one, so always the finned metal pad, and then wait a couple of years, and then we have a bit of a reputation for an on-off feel. And so that was why we really we just felt like the resin pads had to come in the box, because even Vital at the end of the summer last year, they did this big brake shootout, and they're like wondering during the test, they're like, these brakes feel great. Like, how come like I'm used to them being such an on-off feel. Like they must have done something with them, and they like accidentally got a set of brakes sent to them from like a team inventory or something that had resin pads in them, and that was the only difference. They figured it out later. So like just in the chart it shows up that like, oh yeah, there were resin pads, and turns out that even they love Shimano brakes when they got resin pads in them. And if you don't for any other reason, then sweet, yeah, I'm not going to try to convince you, but important for them to come in the box, I think.
Yeah,
like, give it a shot.
Yeah.
Well, people are very diehard Shimano brakes if they love them. So
we have a lot of conversations about that. It comes up all the time that like you can chase what somebody else is good at. But I never want to kind of disappoint people who have been fans of the way that we've done stuff in the past. So I wouldn't want to like dull the brake feel or anything like that. Yeah. Anything that we could have done. Like
address a few pink bike comments for diminishing all your fans.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I think, you could copy somebody and then just be the second person that made it, or you can go off and be your own. And really, I mean, I think the key to product development is figuring out what your competitors are doing poorly and especially try to do that really well.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
Wow. Well said. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us up here. We really appreciate it. It's awesome to learn a bunch about the whole development process and a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that we weren't really privy to prior to this. So
Mike came up and did explain everything to us. We just aren't good at retaining information.
All you remember is me hitting the derailleur.
That's it. I just remember that only.
Like, the shift's good.
Batteries, beep boop.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Thank you guys again so much for coming up. It's been awesome. And thank you everybody for tuning into this episode. We truly appreciate it. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Cheerio.
Thank you. Love you.